Hello, beautiful people. My name is Emma.
And I'm MC.
And we are your hosts of the G-Forces podcast. So you might notice we are in a different setting than usual.
We're on different sides.
We are on different sides.
It's throwing me.
It feels a little weird. But the reason why we are in a different setting, we're in our actual home.
Yeah.
Normally we record in a studio, but I just got back from another country last night, and the jet lag is hitting me, and I cried this afternoon because of life. And then MC.
My only excuse is that I'm hungover, so
Yeah.
I don't expect sympathy. Let's worry for him.
And so I wanted to be comfy and put pajama pants on. So that's why we're sitting on our couch, and we've got two special guests tonight that might make an appearance. Our dogs. One of them is laying right next to me, so if you see me lean over, I'm petting him because he's very needy and missed me quite a bit.
I think you just want an excuse to sit next to Sal.
Maybe.
But yeah, so for those that don't, because I don't think we ever talked about it, Emma and me, we both have our own dogs. Oh yeah, we live together, so it's one giant happy family.
Yeah.
Emma's dog, his name is Sal. And then my dog, his name is Scout, like Boy Scout, Girl Scout, not Gout. Like
yeah, she did have someone say.
Thought.
Yeah, one person thought that she said gout and was like, "Why would you name your dog?"
They were like,
gout?
"Wow, like
Who would name their dog gout?"
I never met anyone who named their dog after a disease, and I was like, neither have I. But yeah, so we're in the comfort of our own home. We'll see if we like it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but we are filming a little late after the Brazil Grand Prix because, like I said before, I was out of the country. I was actually in Scotland, in Edinburgh. I was visiting a friend who's going to school there, and I've also just kind of always wanted to go. And so I got to do some F1 related things, which check out our TikTok and our Instagram so you can see that. Mm-hmm. And I did not get back until last night, so I didn't really want to record while I was there because I wanted to actually sightsee and do all the things.
We're also technologically challenged enough that I feel like
it would be really difficult for us, to be
taken
honest.
us so long to figure out.
Yeah, it would
You
have.
know, this is very DIY, and
yeah.
We're not tech savvy.
No, not at all. So that's why we just waited a couple days because it's better for me to come back. And when I was watching the race anyways, it was difficult for me to fully pay attention because I was watching them at different times and like kind of in split up moments, and also watching it on a phone while in a pub because my friend and I did go to one like sports bar to watch it, but I believe there was a Newcastle Arsenal game, and we walk in and it was just men, like over 100 men, not one woman in there, and I was like, turn around right now, this is terrifying, let's go somewhere else.
Well, the other thing too is besides like the travel, we're at the end of that triple header.
Yes.
So we have this weekend off, and then next week, the following weekend is Las Vegas. So I think too, like we're giving ourselves a little bit of a rest too. Like it's been.
Yeah, we're tired. We can't imagine how tired the drivers are.
Yeah, I am complaining about making a podcast for fun when there are people who this is their actual job, is traveling all over the world. But yeah, so this past weekend we spent the whole day rewatching. Absolute chaos.
Yes, very exciting weekend, I'd say.
I honestly, it was the last sprint weekend of the season. I think that I was dragging my feet a little bit because I hem and haw over the sprint weekends. I just think the structure needs to be rethought.
There's too much going on for the spectators to watch.
I will say, like, I think it was a really good race weekend. Like,
I agree.
The battles were there, the chaos was there, there was weather, there was so many DNFs, so...
Yes, I think the most we've ever seen this season, at least.
Yeah, it's topping up there for this season.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but Brazilian Grand Prix, you want to get into the track?
Yeah, let's do it.
Alright, so just so you know, the race is called the Sao Paulo Grand Prix.
Oh, I did not know
It's
that.
not actually, I mean, I think years ago it was the Brazilian Grand Prix, and then it was remarketed as the Sao Paulo Grand Prix.
Interesting.
So, yeah, so that was like a funny thing I did notice. Most of our socials did say Brazilian, but I think it was it was just like hand in hand. They were both used.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously Sao Paulo Grand Prix is in Sao Paulo, Brazil. The track name is the Autodromo Jose Carlos. Okay, I don't know if it's Pace or Pache.
There's not an accent. Also, a C doesn't make an
But I
S
don't
sound
speak
in
Portuguese.
Spanish. That's true. In Brazil, they speak Portuguese.
Yeah, I said that. It's okay. She's
It's
never been to
fine.
Brazil, guys. I'm also realizing I did that thing that I did a few episodes ago where I only have the kilometers and not the miles.
You know what?
If you want the miles,
You can figure it out yourself.
No, don't figure it out yourself. Go to Instagram and go to the G-Forces podcast and then look at the track info that we post
do have it there.
before every single race, and you'll see the kilometers and the miles. So, quick plug for our socials. All right. So, track name is Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace Pache. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I would honestly love if someone explained how to say the name. So this track, they broke ground in 1938, but the inauguration of it happened in 1940. So it is one of the longer, older tracks. The first F1 Grand Prix was hosted here in 1973, so it's been around for a while. There's a ton of history. You saw his face all over this track.
Yeah,
Ayrton Senna, just huge.
Not just on the track, on Lewis's clothing
all over the city. I mean, there was just so much pride.
Yeah.
I feel like that happens with most of the Brazilian, just like sports teams as a whole.
They love their athletes.
So, lots and lots of history, lots of important moments. The circuit length, I'm only going to give it in kilometers this week, is 4.309 kilometers. So it is another shorter one. Just like Mexico was. So not an insanely long, so we did see that higher number of laps.
Yeah.
Just because of length. So it was 71 laps. And then the race distance in total was 305.879 kilometers. So the lap record was I guess created or like is held by, I don't know, what would you say? The lap record was driven in 2018 by Valtteri Bottas, who I believe was at Mercedes at that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that lap record is 1:10.540. So that's like 1 minute and 10 seconds. That's a fast. So that kind of shows you
how short
these tracks are. I think we were seeing like a lot of like 111s.
You saw some high 110s, but nothing close to that.
And then we had 2 DRS zones this weekend. So DRS detection zone 1 was between turns 1 and 2, and the activation starts after turn 3. And then DRS detection zone 2 is between turns 13 and 14, and activation starts before turn 15. And then this isn't specific to the race, but this was an update and something that we spoke about the last Grand Prix. But going into this weekend, the FIA did ban impeding in the pit lane because, I mean, it was something that was getting huge complaints. So, unfortunately, that was something that I think, some people took tongue-in-cheek. I feel like it's definitely something that needs to be cracked down on. But that is a new regulation that, when we get into the whole race weekend, we'll talk about a little bit more. But, yeah. So, that is the Brazilian Grand Prix or Sao Paulo Grand Prix. And a little bit about the track.
All right, should we get into the practice?
Yeah, we don't have much to say. But yeah, let's get into it. So there was literally nothing of great importance for practice. I just thought it was funny because I chuckled when we rewatched it. It was just funny because it's just like another unfortunate Logan Sargent situation where you're like, give the boy a chance. Like, he just... So, there was a moment within... I also think it does highlight the fact that there's so much calibration that goes into this as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's huge... Like, it's just another shine on, like, how sensitive these vehicles are.
Yeah.
And so, at one point at practice, Logan was complaining on the radio about his tires, and he's like, come on, man, I'm only driving on, like, 2 tires. And then
the camera
zooms in, and he is driving on 3 tires.
If that. Maybe just the 2
and
rear.
There's probably, like, there's an inches worth of a gap between his tire and the
I would
floor.
say inch is a bit aggressive. An inch.
An inch?
Yeah.
Okay.
An inch is bigger than you think.
Yeah, true. But, yeah, it was just, like, a funny moment where, like, the poor kid just...
Can't catch a break.
So that was really the only takeaway from practice. There was only one practice this weekend, again, because it's a sprint weekend. But, yeah, just pretty casual. I think they really just figured out their tires during practice, so that was it.
Yeah, and hopefully trying to figure out, what is it? The plank on the bottom of the floor that got people disqualified in Texas. Why am I blanking?
I don't know. It'll come to us.
But this is the time to figure out, to make sure that is thick enough so that you don't get disqualified, because that's basically what happened to everybody last time.
Disqualification's not good.
No, that's not what we're aiming for.
No, it's not the goal.
Instead, we are aiming for qualification.
Yeah, which leads us into qualifying.
So, for qualifying, we start off in Q1, and apparently, I guess I just didn't notice this bit, but there's a 15-minute delay due to debris.
You didn't watch Q1 until, like
a couple
today.
hours ago. And I wasn't even fully paying attention because I have, actual work for my corporate America job that I had to do. So, apparently there was a 15-minute delay due to debris, but the weather was coming in.
Why are you reading my notes?
I don't know.
Directly, I hate this. So I have all my notes written out, and Emma, because she's, if we didn't tell you already, she's been traveling. She's reading my notes and I don't know.
Tired.
I write them the way I write them, and you're making
Anyways,
me self-conscious.
During the entire qualifying session, you just see a black cloud coming from the distance. Not just coming from the distance, racing towards the track.
Well, and honestly, I don't know if it was because of the weather, because it was crazy, but it was some of my favorite qualifying, because I think there was a panic.
There was a panic that that qualifying was going to end early, which it ended up ending early.
Well, and so that was something that you noted at qualifying that doesn't happen as often, but essentially a lot of time you'll see people slowly pull out within the first few minutes of qualifying. There's not this huge rush to get onto the track, but this is the first time I think since we started watching that they're all lined up before qualifying has even started to get that first lap time out, because they didn't know when the rain was going to hit.
I will say there were some sus things going on during qualifying, in my opinion. I don't know what that finger point was. But because the FIA banned impeding the pit lane, I think people are trying to find alternative ways to get away with kind of doing that.
When she says people, she means Max.
I am a Max defender when it comes to his personality that I don't actually know, because I don't actually know the dude. But when it comes to shady things on the track, I will call him out. And when you are up ahead, it's very easy for people to be like, oh, he never gets any penalties. Yeah, he probably doesn't get any penalties because he's not running into people, and he's got nobody around him because he's an entire lap ahead of everyone. But when you are dealing with traffic leaving the pit lane, bruh, get over it. Everyone's doing it. Everybody's got to deal with it. don't cut ahead and, like, practically, like, that could have caused an accident the way that he cut ahead. And it was pissing me off. Everybody's got to deal with this. I don't care if you are number 1 in the world or if you are number 20.
Well, and in Q1, sort of, like, wrap up just, like, Q1 as a whole, there was an impeding incident between George and Pierre. And at one point you heard Pierre get on the radio because at the end of the day, it's all about, I personally feel like it's all about the safety. I think the pit lane at certain race courses can narrow.
Yeah.
It's just a situation, it's not a part of the track that they really want 2 cars across.
No.
And so there was incidences and 3 drivers, and I'll get into it when we talk about the race, but 3 drivers were given penalties, but Max was not.
Yeah.
Max was not penalized. It almost, I guess the best way to describe it was it almost felt like he was like a little kid who wanted to get to the front of the line.
He was, and in elementary school, if you decided to shove everyone to the side and run to the front of the line, you would have gone to the principal's office.
Yeah, you would have.
Yeah.
That was a really good analogy.
So, he should have gone to the principal's office. Imagine on the radio.
Max Verstappen
To the principal's office.
It's right next to the marshals. Q1 knocked out Yuki, Danny, which was a really big bummer because of his huge success we saw in Mexico. Valtteri, Logan, and Joe.
I think the AlphaTauris were just struggling this weekend.
Yeah, I think that there were just probably issues. I think it's, we said this last episode, but it's that end of season. Like, I think they're really pushing to get points, and you can see this desperation. So in Q2, the only, like, real big thing of notice was that Alex Albon, he was actually in really good standing. I think he was in, like, 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
And, then his lap time got deleted for track limits, which dropped him down to P15, because I don't know, either he had a bad lap time or he didn't have a lap time at all.
He had a lap time at all.
And so that was a bummer, because again, it's the Alex Albon effect.
We love him.
We want him to do well.
You can't help but root for the guy.
So Q2 knocked out Nico Hülkenberg, Esteban Ocon, Pierre Gasly, K-Mag, and Alex Albon. And then Q3 was when we finally saw the looming cloud of F1 death coming in. And you saw, it's like that scene in, you know, The Princess Diaries where the rain's coming in and they, like, all throw the umbrellas up.
Yeah.
It was like that with people in their, like, rubber plastic ponchos in the grandstands.
Everyone was pulling their ponchos out in the grandstands, but then the grandstand itself decided
to like
rip
blow
off the
away.
roof. Yeah.
But because of this in Q3, you just saw this, like, mass amount of panic.
Yeah.
And quick disclaimer, Q3, the whole allotted time was not used because about 5.5 minutes left of Q3.
It just
like hurricane. It like monsoon.
It really looked like a tropical storm.
So, like, certain people that were affected, Lando was pretty, like, McLaren was pretty badly affected by it because they just didn't get in those lap times. But someone like Lance Stroll really, I think, benefited from the weather because he ended up...
Yeah, the Aston Martins ended up locking out the second row.
Yeah. So, it ended early because of crazy weather, but I think, you know, it ended up being a mixed bag. And so, the top 3 for qualifying was Max in 1st, Charles in 2nd, and Lance Stroll in 3rd. So
and Fernando in 4th.
Fernando was in 4th. I think Aston Martin, personally, I think this is something that Aston Martin needed.
Yeah.
I think as a team, a lot of the rumors that were swirling, I feel like that must be hard on the mechanics. That must be hard on, like, the team as a whole, traveling as well as, like, at home base.
Yeah.
And so to, like, have that anxiety and not performing well, I think Aston Martin as a whole really needed what this weekend brought for them.
I
think Lance Stroll needed this 3rd place position. Like, there's just, like, a confidence that they've been lacking.
Yeah.
So, yeah, qualifying was crazy. It was actually, like, they did the final, like, where they give them the little, like, higher for pole position.
They did it inside of a garage.
They did it, like, in a garage, like, by the medical cars.
But you could see the rain coming down because of the light shining.
Yeah.
It just looked insane.
Charles was, like, looked like he'd never been in, like, a bad storm before. And same with Max. Like, it was thundering and lightning, and they were, like, shook. I don't know. Maybe they don't. I don't know.
I don't think it really. I don't get thunderstorm energy from Monaco, so I think I can imagine Charles never really experienced a bad storm.
I've never been to Monaco, but I cannot imagine Monaco.
Exactly, I've never been there either. But like, imagine a tropical storm in Monaco.
Where are you getting this?
Can you imagine? That would be ridiculous.
Did they get thunderstorms?
I just don't think so.
Anyways, if anyone knows if Monaco gets thunderstorms,
I just feel like Monaco
let us know.
has perfect weather all year round.
They might. Everyone could be laughing at me like, MC, you're wrong.
Maybe it doesn't even get cold.
Like, maybe it doesn't rain.
Probably rains. Just not thunder.
Just sunshine and rainbows every day in Monaco. You pay what you get.
Actually, though, you have €500,000 in your bank account.
Yeah. Anyways, on that
sprint shootout time.
Yeah, I think we'll just combine the sprint and the sprint shootout because
yeah,
it was.
Yeah, I would agree with that one.
It was lackluster.
Yeah,
it was fine
as always.
Yeah.
All right, sprint shootout.
Pew pew. Like shootout, like.
I was like, pew pew. What's going on?
The face you just gave me.
Because I was like, why would you just randomly say pew pew in the middle of recording the episode? Like, is this what happens when we record in the apartment rather than downstairs?
I'm so much more comfortable here. Okay, sprint shootout. Emma, take it away.
So I think it was in like the first section of the sprint shootout. We see Esteban Ocon, he's on a fast lap, and then Fernando's just cruising around, having a good old time, being Fernando Alonso.
Probably singing.
Absolute icon. Probably planning what his next TikTok is gonna be.
Our love for Fernando Alonso has grown tenfold. Just
yeah, we love him right now.
He's our hyperfixation driver right now. I think it's because he reminds me of our grandmother. But that's just like maybe me projecting. I don't know.
Maybe. Anyways, I think Fernando would be really excited to hear that he reminds us of our old dead grandma.
That's what he's aiming for. I'm talking like her personality, not like her right now.
Obviously. She's gone a long time ago.
She's dirt.
The bugs have eaten her at this point.
Okay.
Anyways. Esteban Ocon is driving past Fernando, and Fernando was kind of in the way-ish. But then Esteban also kind of... It was a bumpy ride at one point.
I disagree because...
I think they were both
I watched the whole F1 thing. They replayed the crash
several
97,000 times. And it looked like... I just wonder if... Like, the spacing... Because there was another incident that happened with 2 other drivers where the spacing, like, was really tight for when, like, the person was going on the...
Yeah.
Like... And I wonder if the spacing, just, like, they're not realizing...
The lack of space.
Like, hey, you need to yield.
Well, that's the thing. More. I think that there wasn't enough... I don't think Fernando gave enough space for Esteban accidentally. I don't think he was, like, intending to be in the way.
No.
And then I don't think Esteban realized that there wasn't enough space.
Yeah.
And so Esteban kind of... It wasn't like a spin out, but his car hit the front... left side of Fernando's, but then he spun out after that and crashed into the barrier, and then caused, I think it was a yellow or a red flag, and so that Q1 of like the sprint shootout was done. Obviously Esteban was done. Fernando was brought back in, and somehow they did not repair it in time. They prepared it for the sprint, though.
They were trying to, but I think, like, right when, because this all happened in...
A couple of minutes.
The sprint shootout 1, like, Q1, essentially. And I think, like, the team was trying to see if they could achieve it, but they couldn't, so you saw him, like, walking off in the distance, like, signing autographs.
Yeah, he was.
They were, like, on F1, they were, like, a sight you never want to see.
A driver signing autographs.
When he should be on the track, and it's like...
Okay, Alex Shocks. Anyways, then the next bit, did you want to say this?
Do you want to say it?
You can say it. I don't mind.
Lando got his first pole. Lando got his first... Like, finally! I mean,
I know.
It's not
a win.
Number one win yet, but we're closer. We're
the fact that
closer.
he's had this many podiums and it's been, what, he started 2019, 2020, 21, 22? This is the 5th season. And he hasn't ever gotten a pole position before, even though it might just be a sprint. But still, he beat
A pole
Max.
position is a pole position.
Well, to Charles Leclerc, a pole position is not a good move. Because Max has won more when Charles is on pole than when Charles is on pole.
Yeah, but I don't think Charles looks at poles as, like, a bad thing. I think just statistically they've sucked for him.
I would imagine that that's a bad thing, then.
No, I know.
Statistically, you look at it like, wow, I lose more when I'm on pole.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to think about that.
I mean, he's got enough going on.
Yeah.
He's had a rough weekend. We'll get to that later.
But yeah, so we saw Lando's first pole position, which I honestly... One, exciting, because it adds that pressure to Max.
Yes.
But also, two, it's Lando's first pole.
Yeah. And I feel like he's been very critical of himself recently, at least in the interviews that we've seen. And, like, you'll even see some commentators being like, we really miss the, like, happy, positive Lando. And it's easy to be hard on yourself sometimes, I think. And I think some of these drivers need to realize that, you know, a tiny mistake, yeah, it means a lot at the end of the day for them, but, like...
But here's the thing, and I was thinking about this the other day. Think about how, like, for me, when I drop the ball on, like, a work project or something, or, like, like, the project I missed the deadline on, right? And you saw how stressed and, like, freaked out I was. Like... Think about all the self-criticism we give ourselves in our normal 9-to-5s. Like, this is their normal 9-to-5.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like, if I had to sit there and do press media that week that I missed my deadline and I was, like, losing my shit, I would have been crying. Like, I think that negativity is...
It's normal.
It's normal. It's just... The way we express it is very different than, like, an F1 superstar is expressing it. And, like... The way I talk to, like, my boss in my one-on-ones is the way, like, he talks to the media pen.
Yeah.
So, like, that emotion that I have in a private conversation in the workplace is unfortunately televised. So I get where that criticism... Like, this is his...
Oh, yeah, 100%.
You know? And he's dealing with someone like Max who just, like... It's hard to find flaws. And so when Lando does make the flaws, he's like, that's something, like... I'm sure there's comparison.
Oh, yeah.
But that's my little tangent.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I think we can talk about the sprint now.
Yeah. Do you want to take it?
No, you go for it.
I feel like I'm talking too much this episode.
I'm sorry, I'm tired.
Oh, I'm fine talking.
Like, I'm usually talking too much.
We'll discuss off the pod.
Yeah, you guys don't need to hear us argue.
We're in the safety of our own home. We're very comfortable.
Yeah.
So, the sprint itself, it was a good start for Lando, but Max ultimately ended up taking the lead early. I think Max's response time was faster, but I think that mechanically the cars, I think the McLaren, to get up to speed was faster than the Red Bull, at least from what I was seeing.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, sorry.
Yeah.
Look it up. So, I do feel like this sprint was the beginning signs of the struggle that we saw Mercedes deal with this weekend.
They could not hold their pace.
I felt like in FP3, Jesus. In FP1, there was no FP3, so we don't know. In FP1, I mean, it was fine. It was normal practice. And then I think in kind of the qualifying rounds, I don't know if it was because it was just like lap times at that point, but the sprint was really that moment where you just saw the beginning frustration from someone like George. Like, it really,
Yeah.
it was evident. So towards the end, in one of the last laps, like I think in the third to last lap, Yuki in an AlphaTauri passed Lewis.
And the commentator, Alex Jogs, did mention, he was like, this is a sentence you never want to hear. Yuki Tsunoda in an AlphaTauri is passing Lewis Hamilton in a Mercedes.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And I don't know what they did, and I don't know why it's gotten so bad, but it's like...
It was a rough
there has
weekend
never
for Mercedes
been
fans.
so much more, like, so much negativity surrounding the car.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always been negative, like, it's been a struggle of a car, but... yeah, so really I think the biggest takeaway from the sprint was the Mercedes struggle. So with Max taking that early lead, Lando was able to, like, kind of keep up, but unfortunately I think the Red Bull's tires just handled this track better. And the McLaren, just, like, the tire deck just got... It wasn't allowing Lando to stay up with Max. So Max ended up in first, Lando in second, and Checo in third. So yeah, happy to see Checo back up in the, like...
Even though we have been very critical of Checo.
Your heart breaks for the guy after Mexico. Like, that first lap, like, that sucks.
It does.
In your home, like, your whole family's there.
Oh, yeah. But I'm glad that he's doing better. I'm glad that, like, the Checo of old is back. And in the actual main race, he's a really great battle that made the race what it is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It felt exciting.
Yes, I
agree.
agree.
To watch him drive this weekend.
Yeah.
And with that...
we're going to get into the actual race.
The race.
Yeah, the main one.
The big one.
Like,
the Grand Prix.
Oh, wow. We live together, and we've lived together for way too long that we were about to say the exact same thing at the same time.
How long have we lived together? 25
I'm 25,
years?
so I just turned 25, guys.
Yeah.
I'm getting old.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get into the race. So, it is Sunday. We are in Brazil.
It's a Sunday. There's cars on the track.
What are we doing? Also,
we're setting the scene.
Just a disclaimer, again, because we are doing this in our apartment tonight. My dog has decided to start crying.
So if you hear any squeaky bits, that is Sal.
Being needy.
Being a COVID puppy.
Yes. Anyways.
So the race starts off. Before the race starts, we end up finding out that impeding... What?
I'm just thinking about what happens before the race for a second.
Well, no, I'm talking about before.
Yeah, I know.
Not formation lap before. Okay,
I know.
So before, that impeding penalty. I was like, impediment. Like,
you got there eventually.
Impeding penalty ended up affecting George Russell as... Oh my God, stop.
George Russell.
George Russell. I hope you see this, George Russell. Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly. They were penalized because they ended up doing the thing they were told not to do. So they got two...
I didn't realize that they all got penalties.
Yeah, 2 grid places.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think, like, Lando got bumped up. It changed, like, a few things, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was very quickly talked about, and because so much other shit, freaking happened.
Yeah, it wasn't really a priority.
It was not. I mean, the grid was a mess.
Yeah.
So, do you want to say what happened?
Yeah, so they're just driving. The cars are out on the grid. They're just going for a nice leisurely formation lap.
It's normal.
The sun is shining. The birds are singing. Then Charles Leclerc is in the wall. The hydraulics apparently failed.
He's very unlucky.
He did not even surprised anymore.
He does the, like, no, why me? Like,
everyone is in shock because it's the formation
people are
lap.
speechless. Like, Matt and Tommy posted their reactions. If you guys don't know who they are, I think it's Matt, Pew, and Tommy.
Yeah.
They have very, very funny, I think they have a podcast.
Reaction
but,
videos, yeah.
they have very funny reaction videos, and, I think is Matt a big...
Matt is the one who's
Big Charles.
and he reacts really big.
And speechless. Like, it was just... I think I was making myself a cup of coffee, and all of a sudden...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was, so... because I watched the race in, like, bits and pieces, I watched the start, and then my friends and I, we had a ghost tour, because we did a ghost tour while we were in Scotland. I highly recommend. But we were like, oh, let's just sit down and watch the start. And then Charles ends up in the wall. And so we're like, so we're not going to watch the start right now, because we got to go. We did not expect for there to be all of this commotion.
45 minutes of, yeah.
Yeah, so we found out later on that apparently it was something with some sensor in the car went off, which then caused the hydraulics to fail, I believe. Apparently, I don't know if it's rumors online or if it's been confirmed by Ferrari, but if that sensor had not gone off, and if Charles had not crashed into the wall, if he had continued driving...
If his car hadn't stopped.
If he had gone another couple of feet, his car would have blown up. And...
I want to know if that's verified. Because I saw that as well online, but I don't know if
it's what
just,
everyone is saying.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the rumor mill, but yeah, people... Because I saw it on TikTok. It was, I don't know... It's just one of the many motorsports accounts now. And people in the comments were like, you mean like... Kaboom? And yeah. So, I'm curious to see if that's going to be discussed when we have all the press for Las Vegas coming up. I'm just curious to hear a little bit more on that, if they will discuss it. I'm sure they will. They're going to ask him.
Oh, I'm sure. But because of that, then there was a yellow/red flag to clean all that up. Mm-hmm. And then they had to do a restart.
We did see Charles in the wild again.
Yeah, Charles decided to go for an adventure. The amount of memes of him and the Hobbit are cracking me up, where it's him sprinting through the woods for some reason. And then he also, like, just left his car with the workers on the track, and it's very much giving, who is that photo? It's not Andrew Garfield. It's someone, the guy who plays the Flash. You know who I'm talking about.
The movie Flash or the TV show
The TV show Flash.
Oh, I have no idea what his name is,
but you know who I'm talking about. You know the meme where it's, like, him kneeling by a gravestone? And, like, being like...
I think I do. Yeah.
People were like, all of these workers taking a photo with the car, like, the damaged Ferrari is giving that energy that, like, that is the gravestone, and all the workers are that actor, like, smiling with the gravestone.
I think he was trying to figure out if, like...
I think he wanted to figure out to go back in.
Yeah, that's what the commentators were trying to figure out, too, is, like, why is Charles just, like... frolicking. Like, he's on grass right now.
And he was supposed to start P2, too, so...
Yeah. So, after that, once they cleared it up, the race is set up again on the grid. We have the lights. Everything goes.
And 2 seconds later, crash.
Smoke. Tires.
Mm-hmm.
Rolling. Craziness. Chaos. K-Mag, Alex Albon.
And several others had some slight damage because of it, unfortunately. But Alex Albon, I don't even know how the collision happened. The two Haas's were there.
So what ended up happening was, and I think it was similar to Checo's crash a little bit, where it was the 3 cars across.
Yeah.
And I think it just got to the point, especially in the start, there's too much happening, and you
especially
cannot
if you're
figure
in the middle.
out. Yeah, and so I think unfortunately, K-Mag and Alex Albon hit. I will say, rewatching the race today, knowing that the crash was going to happen, Alex Albon hit the barriers hard.
Yeah, it did not look like a fun crash.
That, I mean, everyone was fine, everyone was okay, but because of that, literally happened in lap 1.
Not even, it was like...
It was the start
10 feet
of
off
lap
of the
1.
start.
That ended up putting the race into a red flag because they had to remove the cars and they had to clean the debris. So we ended up having a red flag. It was like 45 minutes.
Yeah, it was a long time.
It was a long time. Like, the cars ended up in the pit lane. The drivers were out of their car. I feel like anytime the drivers get out of their car in a red flag...
You know it's going to be a while.
You're like, okay, we're here for the long run. Because of this and the way, I think it was Alex Albon's tire flew off of his car, Oscar Piastri...
Well, so, hold on, just to give some context. It was Alex Albon who first crashed into the wall. And because of that, the way that he spun, it then caused... Was it K-Mag to then spin out into the wall as well?
Or was it... I think they clipped each other. Like,
I think it was Hulk who actually hit the wall as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
One of the Haas's also hit the wall. And so both of them had to be retired. Why don't you check the results?
Nico didn't retire.
It was K-Mag who retired.
Yeah, but that's because Kevin Magnussen hit the wall too, yeah. That's what I just said.
You literally just said, I don't remember which one.
Oh.
Anyways, we're losing our minds, guys. So yeah, they had the red flag. Everyone's just kind of out of their cars doing their thing.
Well, but because of the sustained damage Oscar and Danny have...
Yeah, the tire just decided to attack the Aussies on the grid.
Yeah, it really affected their rear wings.
You just see it bounce off their car.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they're bystanders in a crappy situation. So with the red flag, their mechanics and their teams within that amount of time are like, we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna fix these cars.
Yeah.
And so there's actually some cool audio, if you want to check it out. I think it's on McLaren's socials, of the mechanics crew radio discussing what they have to do for Oscar's repairs. And I thought that was a really cool side of the team.
They were able to fix his car in 10 minutes.
10 minutes. But I also thought it was really cool to see kind of like how calm they all are, the way it all works, how there isn't like, you have to work fast, but they just like, they all have to be zen, you know?
And it is their job. They do get paid for it, so I'd imagine. Yeah. They have to be good in high stress situations.
Fortunately, not me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because of that, Oscar and Danny both had to start a lap behind when the restart happened. So I'm guessing that that's some Park Ferme rules. Also, that was Mary Catherine's dog. If you just heard some flapping, that was him shaking his head. And I think he's about to trip over
the camera.
Okay.
Scout. Come here.
Anyways, Danny and Oscar both had to start a lap back because they had their cars repaired. I'm guessing technically during Park Ferme conditions. I think that was a stupid rule, to be honest. I think at that extent, like, it was a start and everyone's about to restart. Just let them get their cars fixed and start again with the rest of the grid. But the FIA was like, nope, this is the moment. We're going to penalize you.
You knew they were never going to catch up. Like, what were you planning on? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
It was a bit much. It was also like, you're torturing these drivers at this rate.
It's like, make them start in the pit lane or something. I don't know. But, like, we already have 2 cars that are retired at this point. Well, no, 3. We have 2 DNFs and one DNS. So, like I said, in the sprint at the race around the restart, we started to see George Russell really struggle in the Mercedes. A lot of his radio Emma was frustrated by it. I'll be honest, I was frustrated by it. It honestly, and this is not me trying to be like mean towards George Russell, but it's like it just feels like he's whining sometimes.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, and I feel bad saying it because we're trying to promote positivity, but like, you're whining.
It feels like every single race, it's like, I thought we were going to be going with a team plan. Like, okay, I get that. But then eventually, after saying that 5 times in one race, maybe you've come to the realization that we're not doing the team plan anymore. And then eventually, I think it was one point, he like said something where he was like, I thought it was obvious, but, so I didn't say anything, but I obviously have more pace. And I'm like,
I just think it's a little difficult to make someone try to read your body language and not speak when you're driving during a Grand Prix.
yeah.
Like, it doesn't really, like, execute the same way, like,
Yeah.
just not speaking
I think that he was more hoping that they were going to look at the data, and in his mind, he was going to be faster. But, you know, they are looking at constant data, so I don't think that he was faster then.
Yeah.
Well, eventually, because then he got passed, like, several times throughout the race, and he just started falling back.
Yeah.
Which, that sucks to see, the Mercedes struggle. It's not fun.
No, and I think that's what was adding to his frustration, which ended up is the reason why he executed his radio calls in the way he did, was because he was being passed by drivers he is normally not really passed by.
Yeah.
But I
happens.
think the thing is, too, and I don't know what's communicated to him, but Lewis was struggling just as much.
Yeah.
And I don't know for him if it just feels like he wants it so badly, but it's like, maybe it's not your time right now. You know? Like,
yeah.
I don't know if it's achievable.
And I don't know if it's just that these are the radios that F1 TV is showing us, that like if every other
and he might not be like
these
this,
things,
yeah.
But the way that F1 TV shows it, it makes it seem like he's one of the few people that's saying this, and he's saying this over and over and over again throughout the race, and at some point it's like, focus on your race, stop complaining that you are behind Lewis.
Yeah. No, and it becomes, it's
put a sour taste in our mouths with him.
Yeah, and it's sad because I think at the end of the day, it is selective radio calls.
Yeah.
So we're not fully hearing everything, yeah. So it just become a little bit of a sore subject for us.
That just reminded me, off topic but on topic, of a radio call that we had this weekend during the qualifying session earlier on.
Oh my god.
When it got really dark, Fernando Alonso, as he's coming into the pit, he just goes,
"It's night."
What did his race engineer say?
He goes, "Yeah, mate. Agreed." And it was just like amazing. Like, you're so wise, Fernando. Like,
anyways, let's go back to the race.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, throughout the whole race, we see multiple drivers end up having to retire. So, after the absolute shit show that was the beginning formation and first lap, Zhou was then the next car to retire. He retired on lap 24 with technical issues. When I looked online, I was just reading the race report from F1.com, so it didn't go into specifics. I haven't read or heard of any more specifics.
No.
But yeah, it was a bummer because I think we're getting to that point where the smaller teams like Alfa Romeo, AlphaTauri, they need the points, and so to like have a driver have to just retire because of technical issues.
It sucks.
It's just a bummer this late in the game. Around lap 31, we started to see Checo, who I believe he like passed George. He started to catch up to Fernando Alonso, who was sitting pretty in the third spot.
We do need to quickly mention, for the first, handful, 7 laps, Lando was in the DRS zone of Max, which is the longest that anyone has held on to the DRS zone of Max. I mean, I think it was the first time anyone was within his DRS zone the whole season.
All I know is, personally, not knowing anything about the mechanics of the cars, I feel like really it was the tire degradation.
Yeah.
For McLaren this weekend. Like, that was, I think, the biggest difference between the Red Bull and the McLaren was their tire strategy. And I think it blows my mind the fact that the McLaren was in DRS range for that long.
Well, and at the end of the race, we find out that Lando was 0.1 slower per lap than Max throughout the entire time.
Yeah.
And so...
At the beginning, Max and Lando were swapping fastest lap.
Yeah.
Like...
I was convinced that this was going to be the race that Lando won.
But then you just saw the gap between Max and Lando increase so quickly. And,
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't increase to these, like, we weren't in the teens.
No, I think it was like 8 seconds at the end
Yeah.
of the race.
But it was just, I think, he just couldn't keep
But
up.
the two of them were kind of in a league of their own, ahead of everyone.
There was between Max and Lando, there was a bit of a gap. But then Lando and Fernando and Checo, there was a huge gap.
Yeah.
Like, it was the biggest gap I think McLaren has achieved between, like, when they're in that second position.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But Checo was Fernando.
Yeah, so Checo ends up, like, I don't know, maybe Mexico was an awakening moment for him, but he ends up getting himself up into the 4th position. And while Fernando wasn't, like, on Lando's tail, Fernando was sitting pretty. Like, I don't think he had, like,
Yeah.
you know? So Checo started to catch up with Fernando around lap 31. And basically, from here on out, they did the rest of the race together.
Yeah.
Checo did start to close the gap, but I think it was really, like, the last 15 laps that Checo just, like, I think if he had tried to pass Fernando earlier,
he would have blown away.
He would have blown away.
Yeah. I think he stayed behind Fernando, just kind of waiting for the right moment for a little too long.
Yeah. So that Checo-Fernando-Alonso battle, we start to see halfway through the race. And then the next car to retire, unfortunately, was the other Alfa Romeo. Valtteri retired at lap 41, and this was due to a mechanical problem. So I don't know if a technical issue and a mechanical problem, one and the same, different, I don't know. But it just sucked. Like, it was...
Yeah.
You know, it's just one of those things that it's so out of, like, the driver's control that I guess it's good in the sense it's not about their performance or, like, danger, I guess, to, like, the degree of a crash. But it just sucks because, like, you've done so long. Like, that's 41 laps.
Kind of like when Logan Sargent retired on the last lap of the race.
Oh, my God. That makes me...
Anyways.
So then around lap 58, George retired his car due to high and worsening oil temperature.
Yeah.
So not sure what that means as someone who doesn't really understand cars. Sounds scary. Like anything with worsening sounds not great. It's getting worse.
If it's a high temperature too, that doesn't really sound too great.
Yeah.
I'll look into temperature.
I'll look into temperature as, like, a whole. And we'll get back to you guys. We're still trying to figure out Fahrenheit and centigrade.
I'll look into oil relating to F1 cars for our, like, part of the week when we get ready for, what is it, Vegas? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just so we can kind of understand what high and worsening oil temperature actually means.
Sounds bad.
Okay.
So, to kind of wrap up the whole race, I think that the biggest contender for excitement was Checo and Fernando.
Yeah.
It was... I don't know. I don't think we've seen a racing like that. And so the last 15 laps, I think that was the point where 3rd and 4th, the gap was within that second.
Yeah, Checo was basically up Fernando's ass the entire time.
Yeah, he was...
I think he was literally just waiting for the perfect moment. He found the perfect moment in the last lap. And then held it for half of that lap, and then Fernando cut back in front of him.
And then right within the last, like...
10 feet. Checo
tries to get around.
And it's a photo finish. It was a Lightning McQueen tongue moment.
It was so fun to watch.
And they had fun too. I mean, afterwards they hugged it out on camera.
It was this moment where I was like, I understand, like, I get it. I
This
get
is
the
racing.
excitement. And I think the strategy side of it is so important and so interesting within itself, but I think sometimes the sport can become too advanced and too technical and too strategic and less about just, like, driving and battling it out.
Well, it reminds me of, like, for us when we were in rowing, like, it wasn't always the most fun when you were winning by boat lengths. But when you were able to battle it out with another boat and...
Oh my god, you get hyped.
Exactly.
Like, the adrenaline, and so that's why I do understand, like... I understand why they bring about the sprint, because they hope for things like that, but I don't think we're achieving that.
No.
And even with DRS, you know, the whole point of DRS was to create that battle environment, but I feel like sometimes it's not...
I mean, it didn't work for Lewis this weekend.
Oh, yeah, which... Crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, to try to I just kind of want to go over the results, because they're a little...
Chaotic?
Honestly random. I don't know, I don't know.
Also, just a reminder, like we said before, Danny and Oscar had to start a lap behind, so obviously
They were
finished
like...
a lap behind.
Like 45 seconds. There was
painful.
A gap. It was
painful
ridiculous.
to watch them.
It was honestly ridiculous. But anyways, so surprise, surprise, Max ended up winning the gap, and honestly, the fight between him and Lando, I think
it didn't last that long.
It didn't last that long, but it is.
It's getting better.
We're getting there. So Lando ended up taking second, and then Fernando got third, and just so you guys know, it was less than a tenth of a second between Fernando Alonso in third and Sergio Perez in fourth, which is crazy.
Yeah, there's an awesome photo of it, like the photo finish.
Yeah, I think FIA posted it, and Formula One themselves, like, they post. I think Aston Martin too.
If the finish line had been another 5 feet away, it would have been Checo.
Yeah, it was crazy. Lance Stroll ended up getting fifth, which I think was really nice.
Yeah.
Again, I think Aston Martin, just as a team, really needed this morale booster. Carlos was in sixth. Pierre Gasly was in seventh. Hamilton ended up in eighth, so he was able to get in front of Yuki Tsunoda in ninth. Esteban Ocon was in 10th. Logan Sargent had just missed points by being in 11th. Nico Hulkenberg was in 12th. And then, Danny came in 13th with Oscar in 14th. And Danny and Oscar had, like, an insane separation. Now, only 14 drivers of the 20 on the grid actually completed the entire race. Yeah. So then, in terms of DNFs and in order from, like, whoever survived the longest in the race, George came in 15th, Bottas came in 16th, Joe came in 17th, K-Mag in 18th, 19th was Alex, then 20th, or maybe not 20th because he never started the race, was Charles. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drivers.
Yeah, it was a lot.
That was a lot. I think that was I feel like the most we've had is 5, and I think this just beat out.
This beat the most.
Yeah.
For at least this season. So.
Yeah.
Final thoughts?
Yeah.
So, I think for me, this was one of my favorite races. I love seeing a battle, and so seeing Fernando and Checo battle it out was my favorite part. My least favorite part was probably all of the retirements and lack of starts and stuff like that. So.
I think my favorite part was... Oh God, I don't know. I'm trying to think, like, weekend as a whole or race?
I can give you a moment to think while I say who my driver of the day is.
Go for it.
This is a shocking one, actually. You're going to be surprised.
Is it going to be the same as mine?
I don't know. My driver of the day is Checo.
Whoa!
I know.
How the turntables have turned.
I'm like his biggest critic. But I think...
Did I sway you?
No.
Just the facts.
I think he had a fantastic drive. That's it. Nothing crazy. I mean,
that's where I end the compliments. He drove well. Checo was so good this weekend.
He did his job well. No, I mean, Lando did win the actual driver of the day, and I didn't vote for driver of the day because I didn't watch the race live. But I think if I'd watched it, knowing me, I probably would have voted for Fernando or Lando in the moment. But as I take a step back and take a look at the actual race, Checo deserves the driver of the day.
I think I'm gonna second you. I think you swayed me because I was gonna say Fernando Alonso, just because again hyperfixation. He's a legend. He's such a little menace.
He is.
He's just a little gremlin. But I think Checo has come out of this like period of huge amount of criticism and negativity. I think we saw this with unfortunate comments from people within his team. And it just, I'm trying to be diplomatic, Emma. You're making it hard. Keep it professional. I think since those comments were made, there was just kind of this whirlwind of like negativity around him.
Yeah.
I also think the crazy rumors that came out of the paddock, I mean,
They've been insane.
They've been insane with his career, and as someone who's like, I'm just trying to get through, you know, I think that upset in Mexico was really a detriment to see his turnaround, you know, and they asked him in one of his interviews, they were like, how do you get over something like that? And he said he was like, Monday, I was upset for half a day, and then I focused on this weekend.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that showed it's like, holy crap, like, he's doing it.
Yeah.
Even through all of the shitstorm that people have given him, he's doing it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But favorite part of the weekend, honestly, I thought the qualifying, I'm just going to say favorite part of the weekend, instead of the race.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Because I can't think of like a favorite part in the race. Because I don't want to say the same thing as you.
Okay, my favorite part of the race was probably everyone's favorite part of the race.
But I think the weather during qualifying, I thought it was so funny.
I thought it was really funny until I saw
Until the people that, like, obviously safety is
We hope everyone is okay.
I want to make sure. But I think just the images, number one.
Yeah, the
and
contrast
number two,
between, like, a Charles Leclerc sunset lap
yeah,
to a Max
Like-
Verstappen thunderstorm, tropical storm, hurricane lap. Very funny.
yeah, I also thought it added a panic to qualifying.
Oh, yeah, and it made things a lot more interesting in qualifying.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't think I really had a least favorite part of the weekend. I mean,
The
like,
crashes?
well, yeah, no one wants a crash, but, like, yeah, obviously that part. That is my least favorite. Alright.
Everyone, that's all of our least favorite part.
Yeah. Well,
anyways, so in a couple of days, I don't really know what day we're going to be recording our Get Ready for Vegas episode, to be honest. This upcoming weekend, we are driving back from Tennessee to our family's home in New York for the holidays, and so we can't really record it on the weekend, or if we do, it'll be on Sunday, and I don't really know what's going on, honestly.
we just show up to our family's house and then just get told to do things. So, we'll keep you updated when we get updated on what our life looks
There
like.
will definitely be a Get Ready for Vegas episode. I just can't guarantee the day, because then I also have to edit it and do all the other things. So,
bear with us, guys.
yeah.
It's the holidays. It's the end of the season. We're all getting there.
All right. Well, I think that's all for today.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta go walk my dog. So, we're gonna end it here, guys.
All right. Talk to you guys soon.
All right, bye, guys.